So this person, Dr. Ellen Ochoa, was suggested to me by my wife, who is a statistics professor. I may have mentioned that to you before at Georgia State
Mm,
University. She's actually at the Georgia Perimeter College in Dunwoody, which is now part of Georgia State University.
mm,
And the reason why she shared it with me is because Dr. Ellen Ochoa was born on May 10th.
mm.
I'll give you 20 guesses as to who else was born on May 10th in our house.
Uh, your wife.
No, no, me. I was born on May 10th. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I was born on May 10th. Now,
wow.
now she also shared it with me because Dr. Ellen Ochoa is an electrical engineer. I'll give you 10 guesses. Who else in my house is an electrical engineer?
You.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I get it. I get it. I saw the email. Like, I live with my wife, so I'm like, why are you emailing me? And she said, oh, Dr. Ellen Ochoa was featured at Georgia State, and I read her story. I thought of you. I said, wow, then I tell you what, that became so important to me because see how a person that I had probably never heard of before, see how we have all of these very deep connections,
Yeah.
and we look nothing alike, huh?
No.
Yes, but we are connected by many other things. So I said, yes, she has become one of my heroes in like the first hour of the day today. Now her paternal grandparents were immigrants from Sonora, and that became very important to me today because I had no idea where Sonora is or was. You have any idea?
No.
Well, it turns out that it is in northern Mexico. It is a state in
Mm.
northern Mexico. Who knew that Mexico had states? I didn't. Who knew that they had 32 states? I'm like, oh wow, 32 states. Now, if I
Mm.
if I had a map, and I should have made this graphic so I could share it with you. Sonora is in northern Mexico, which means it is a border state in Mexico, which
Mm.
means it borders the United States of America states. So it is very
Mm.
close to Baja California.
Yeah.
And I believe you know from recent headlines that border issues are very prominent and prevalent in our country. Border patrolling, uh, illegal entry, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I said, wow, that's quite interesting that her grandparents were from right there on that line. And they
Mm.
immigrated to Arizona first and then to California. And then she was born and raised in California. But she is of Mexican descent. And after
Mm.
I told you guys that Paulo Freire was Brazilian, I kind of pulled back and stopped listing what everybody was. And I said, no, you save that for the story that you tell. You don't have to write that because, in essence, that is part of who somebody is, but that is also a way that we label each other. So I said, okay, well, pull back. Don't list where they're from. Just say where they are from. Now, as
Mm.
you see in the picture, now she is an astronaut and she traveled to space aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1993. Now, why that is important to me is one of my heroes, Dr. Ron McNair, actually perished on the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. That was the one that exploded shortly after takeoff.
Oh, wow.
And when I say Ron McNair was a hero, that kind of understates the whole thing because he was black. He's an
Mm.
engineer. He was from Lake City, South Carolina. I'm from Ellery, South Carolina. And did I mention he was black?
Yes.
Yeah, so space flight. I think I used to want to be an astronaut, and that stopped the day I saw that Challenger explode. I saw it on
Mm.
TV, and you can't unsee that. So I said, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Where others would have this inspirational story that says, hey, I wanted to be an astronaut even more after that. I said, no, no, that's when Derek Brown said, that's a wrap for me. I'll keep my feet right down here on the ground and see what I can
Mm.
do down here and not up there. But she became an astronaut after that disaster. So that took some courage. Definitely took some courage. And in
Yeah.
2012, she became the director of the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center, which is where all of NASA's human spaceflight stuff happens.
Mm.
Now, are you familiar with Lyndon B. Johnson?
No,
All
I
right.
don't think so.
He was a president. He was the president during the latter part of Martin Luther King's life.
Mm-hmm.
So he and Martin Luther King have some very special connections. I'm not sure how open-minded he might have been, Lyndon Johnson, but what I remember about him was he was very savvy at working with Congress to get laws passed. And
Mm.
when I say savvy, if you hear him talk, he talks with a little twang that might make you kind of play him for country.
Mm.
So you don't hear country people described as savvy, but he was quite savvy. He got a lot of legislation passed while he was president, and you don't get that done without having some diplomatic and communication skills. So he got a lot of legislation passed that's very important to people of color. Chief
Mm.
among them was the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He got that done. And like I say, I'm not sure whether he got it done because that's just what was in his heart or because he was a politician that understood the times. But either way, he is important in our community because he did that, regardless of why he did it. He did it. So it's like, okay, Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah.
Look at all these connections. Lyndon Johnson connects to Ellen Ochoa, who connects to me, who connects to Ron McNair. And boy, all these connections. So
Yeah.
here's the punchline now. In what Texas city is Johnson Space Center located?
Um.
If you had to take a guess, I told you it's in Texas now.
Uh. Houston.
It is in Houston. Tell her what she's won. Now, you know why that's important? Why it was important enough for me to make it the question?
No.
If you watch movies, I have no doubt that you have heard the following phrase: Houston, we have a problem.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's where that comes from. It comes from NASA and space travel.
Ah, that
That
makes.
that is where that comes from. And I said, now, out of everything in this story, young people won't connect to me and Ellen Ochoa having common birthdays. They may not know who Ron McNair is. They definitely won't know that Ron McNair is from Lake City, South Carolina. Only reason I know that is because I'm from Ellery, South Carolina, and Ellery is a lake city as well. Has a lot of lakes around.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one thing that they would connect to, these young people that I connect to, is they will know that Houston has a problem. They would have heard that in some movie somewhere. I'm not sure which movie it was used in first, but I know it's been in movies forever. But
Yeah.
and Dr. Ellen Ochoa was on an episode of, we watch PBS a lot in my house. And
Mm.
matter of fact, that's all we watch. I watch football, my daughter watches PBS, my wife watches YouTube. We don't really watch TV.
Yeah.
But there's a PBS cartoon produced by NASA folks called Ready, Jet, Go, about an alien from outer space and his family who come to America, and he has these young friends who are all interested in space. And his young friends, he has a very short white friend. He has a very smart of color friend. I'm not sure whether she's black or Latino. I think they purposely let her be every person of color.
Mm.
And then he has a bespectacled white friend who wears a coonskin cap. And then I think he has another white friend, white male friend. So there's two white males, one white female, and one young girl of color. They're like this crew who are
Mm.
all about space. And I think the young white male's parents work in the space industry, something like that. But it's a 30-minute NASA commercial every episode.
Mm.
And I told this story to my daughter this morning, my 6-year-old daughter, and she remembered that Ellen Ochoa was featured in one of the episodes. So we went and pulled it up online, and I watched it. I usually don't watch most of her cartoons. There's some that I really like, but for the most part, when they're on, I'm usually doing something else, thinking about something else.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember this episode, but I will now. It's like, wow, she is on the episode, and they took her up into their treehouse and showed her all the stuff all the memorabilia, all the space memorabilia that they keep in the treehouse. I said, oh wow,
Mm.
she was on the show. How about that? How about that?
That's crazy.
So yeah, so this marks the second story that I have shared. Do you know about the Lemon Street Basketball Classic?
It sounds familiar, but I
Well,
don't.
I think this will be the first official year. It's this invitational tournament. High schools from across the country will be
Mm.
invited to Marietta for a few days of basketball and history. So I said, that sounds interesting. So one of the assistant coaches invited me to come to one of their board/committee meetings to see
Mm.
how I might become involved. And I told them about this history quiz bowl that I do called Now You Know, and that I was doing a special version of it for Hispanic and Brazilian Heritage Month. And
Mm.
one of the high school teachers, Miss Herrero, Kelly Herrero, I think I had heard her name before, but I had
Yeah.
not met her. And I have learned since then, I think she's a history teacher. And I think she also works with the IB program as the director of the middle years program. Does that sound familiar? The MYP.
Um.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm thinking that is the pipeline that prepares you for entry into the full IB program. So she would be the person that I would have to connect my daughter to when my daughter is in elementary and middle school to facilitate her opportunity in the IB program in the ninth grade. I think that's how it all works. But either way, she was involved in the meeting that we had on Friday, and she was very interested in the game. So she was like, "Hey, where can I find this online?" I said, "Well, now here's the thing. This is my intellectual property, so I don't just have it out there dangling on YouTube for somebody to watch it and then come up with a show very similar. I don't work like that." But
Yeah.
then I thought about it, and I said, "Well, would I share Dr. Paolo Freire with this lady? Oh, heck no. No, no. You don't just, Because in this day and age of forwarding emails and snap judgments and uh, smooth criminality, where you have forwarded this now to my boss, and now my boss is calling me about what I have done. And I'm like, what did I do? Oh, you told these children about Paolo Freire, and it's not in the curriculum. Don't tell about, don't tell them about Paolo Freire. Then I said,
Yeah.
well, how about Pedro Noguera? I said, don't tell them about Pedro. Don't tell that story either. Well, how about AOC? Nah, dog, don't tell them about AOC. AOC is a Democrat, and these people are probably not. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So when I got up yesterday and found Nancy Lopez, now I didn't share this in the story, right? But Nancy Lopez is a card carrying Republican.
Mm.
Now, is that important to you?
Um. I wouldn't say important, but
Yeah, it does. Don't it color her story a little differently?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I left it out yesterday. I said, well,
Mm.
okay, she did do some great things, but yeah, when I got to the last line in her bio, I was like, oh, why is this in your bio?
Yeah.
And you know why it's in her bio, because she wants you to know, or somebody wants you to know. But just the same, yeah, I said, ugh, oof, all right, yeah, this told on myself now. I worshipped her when I was young,
Mm.
and yesterday I got another cold splash of water, man, that you don't worship any mortal man or woman. You don't. You don't. You appreciate them. You respect them.
Yeah.
You don't worship them. All right. Because we're going to all fall short in some way sooner. than later. So that was a splash of cold water. But when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Nancy Lopez is the perfect person for me to share as a representation of my work with folks who are not of my culture,
Yeah.
because they won't get mad at that. They would probably appreciate that,
Mm.
because chances are they would know that she is of the same political persuasion that they are. They would probably know that. And even if
Yeah.
they didn't, it was the safest play for me to make, because I'm trying to show them what I do and how I get down, so I can get down with some of what they're doing. Some of what they're doing, right? Because what I'm ultimately trying to do is share Marietta's stories, Lemon Street stories, in a way that young people can appreciate and that older people can respect, that allows their voice to really be heard. And most of what I read does not check all those boxes. The box that is almost always unchecked is you read the story and you think that for the last 125 years we have lived in the halls of Shangri-La, all is well, and ain't nobody got nothing to be mad about. So when you hear somebody mad, all you got to do is point to all of these wonderful stories about all these people who said, you know what, despite all of these circumstances that y'all keep exposing me to, I'm gonna be resilient and I'm just gonna keep on rising. Almost
Yeah.
like we should appreciate you for all of the unequal treatment because it made us tougher. Okay, you better miss me with that. You're gonna have to miss me with that. But Ellen Ochoa would then become the second person that is probably safe to share with the audience that I addressed this morning, because she is of color and now she's in charge.
Yeah.
And they respect those of us who are in charge, unless you're Barack Obama, and then they blame you for everything. But they
Yeah.
tend to respect you once you're in charge. You are more like them. You are somebody that they can respect and appreciate. So I said, okay, then you share Ellen Ochoa and you share Nancy Lopez, and now you have represented your work, and they can use their imagination to see what types of stories I might tell about Lemon Street, even though I'm probably not going to tell stories that they are expecting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I won't. But now, the Coach Estes, is kind of the head of the committee,
Mm.
and he connected me with all the other people that were working on creating the experience of the weekend, because there will be basketball, there will be community. We walk a fine line. Yeah, let me say it this way. No, let me say it this way. I love basketball, right? I love basketball.
Mm.
I also love watermelon, right? I ain't gonna say that in front of everybody. I would probably tell anybody I love basketball, and I do. I do.
Yeah.
Basketball culture, some of it I can do without.
Mm.
A lot of it I can do without. What parts can I do without? Well, the part where you kind of forego everything else and say, this is my shot, this is how I'm going to make it, so this is all I focus on, ball is life kind of culture. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, 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 okay, no, no, no. Watching NBA TV 24 hours a day culture? No.
Mm.
Playing NBA live all day? No, no.
Yeah.
But I do love basketball and I do love sports. I am getting older now. I have tempered a lot of my fetishes and all of, yeah. I don't watch as much as I used to. I still watch, still like it, but I don't watch it and worship it like I used to.
Yeah.
Just like I don't worship Nancy Lopez, so it's okay if she's a Republican. I guess. To each his own. To each his own. Oh, I would love to ask her about that sometime, but I'll leave that alone. So yeah, so the tournament is going down. There is a podcaster involved in it who has a program called Love of the Game. Yeah, Love of the Game. And I think he's the point person to bring all of this to television, well, to the internet. The whole tournament is supposed to be streamed, and there's supposed to be announcers for every game, and they'll have LED tables at the games like they do at NBA arenas that will show different uh, pictures and clips and vignettes. So I'm trying to produce some stuff that might be displayed on those LED tables. Now, I didn't know what an LED table was until Friday, but well, I didn't know it was called an LED table, but I have long seen at the NBA games how they turn the scores table on the sideline. It's a billboard, basically. It's a digital billboard. And now that LED technology that we see in our televisions and whatnot, now that it's much cheaper, LED tables are everywhere. And now they have made it into high schools and companies who have these abilities to broadcast and set up that whole tournament experience. They're going to different schools and they're setting up these tournaments. So sounds like the Marietta coaches have hooked up with somebody who knows how to do this type of thing. So I'm trying to work with that person too, and at the same time keep enough separation where he doesn't feel like I'm infringing on his content development space. So you got your podcast, you do your show. I got my show, I'll do my show. We'll find ways to do it together that do not trample or tread upon each other's space. We'll work that part out now. But the communication is really tricky because the coach has kind of thrown us all together and it's like, okay, guys, you're our guys. You guys figured all this out. And I'm like, well, not so fast, man. You gotta let me meet these cats, sit down and talk to them, see where their head is. And for me, the way I see where everybody's head is, Heaven, is after I meet you like that, I write you. I do that with everybody. And 9 times out of 10, Heaven, people don't respond to you. I'm saying 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So people who respond to you, well, I may not worship them like I used to worship Nancy Lopez, but I at least say, okay, well, now we can take our next step in this fellowship that we are developing because you responded to me. Now, in Marietta, I said 9 out of 10 people don't respond to you. In Marietta, 10 out of 9 people will not respond to you.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, quote unquote, who you are. They don't think you are, quote unquote, somebody. So they will not respond to you, which always tells you, okay, if you won't respond when you think I'm nobody, then please don't respond when you find out that I'm somebody. Then we won't have anything to talk about at that point, because I have I have seen what you do. I hear what you say now, but I see what you do. So don't don't come around now. So so I reached out to the coaches this morning and to Kelly and said, hey, here's what I got. Here's some examples, and here's how I think they can be used. I've looked at all the stuff that y'all have sent me. They've been forwarding me every mention of Lemon Street in the news. And I read them all. I said, because you need to read them and you need to fix your face, Derek Brown, even though nobody's watching you. Fix your face, you read the stories, and then you honestly assess what you just read. And I said after each one, well, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I don't read the newspaper. I don't watch the news. When I'm involved in news stories, I won't appear on camera. I don't give them quotes. I participate by not participating because you already know what story you want to tell. You're here to get me to say something that will line up with the story that you want to tell. I had I'm going to call it a confrontation. That's what it was. I had a confrontation with a reporter who was writing a story about me to include in this organization's annual report. Why would they include a story about me in the annual report? Heaven is to exploit me to raise money for their organization. That's why. That's why. Now, I played along because this was an organization that was key in my development into an engineer. It really was. So I was helping them out. So they got somebody from the AJC to do this story about me. And I told you I'm from Ellery, South Carolina, which is in the middle of nowhere. And I'm the only person that gets to say that. Because I know where it is. So I can say it's in the middle of nowhere. You can't say that. Yeah, our conversation's over as soon as you come at me like that. And this lady came at me like, basically, how does it feel to wear shoes and speak correctly? Kinds of.
Um,
She came at me like
what?
that. She came at me like that.
Um,
And the whole thing about wearing shoes. Now, I actually, yeah, I said that to her. So yeah, let me clean this up. Now, she came at me like, how does a country boy like you become the man that you have become? And I said, well, it all changed for me when I started wearing shoes. And she said, you're joking, right? I said, yeah, I tell jokes that nobody's gonna laugh at except the people who really understand. And
yeah.
you didn't laugh, lady. You didn't laugh, and that tells me we probably don't need to do this interview, because what I do with reporters like you is I tell you up front that I need to see the copy when you're done with it, or that offends any reporter, because that
Yeah.
tells them I don't trust what you're gonna write, so you're gonna show it to me before we publish it, or you ain't gonna get a word out of me. Your
Yeah.
move. And she wrote me, because she's a reporter, she wrote me and let me know how offensive my comment was to her. And I'm saying in my mind, I guess you don't see I offended you on purpose.
Mm,
Because the way you respond to me telling you our terms of engagement tell me everything about where we go from here. So I called up the lady who ran the organization and I said, well, look, I'm not going to give this reporter the right kind of story. So I tell you what, nobody knows my story like me. Why don't I write my story?
mm-hmm.
And she said, okay, I'd go for that. So I wrote my story. And they included it for the purposes of exploitation. All that stuff went right ahead. I even gave them a picture of me with my arms folded, with a big smile, showing them all my teeth. Arms folded, not in consternation. Now my arms were folded in a content manner. Oh, I'm so satisfied and happy to be here. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to write that story, and I didn't know you could do what I did until I did it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not giving you no story. And if I do, you will agree to show it to me before you run it. Because, yeah, I don't trust you. Don't trust you. So now I know. And any other press coverage I've gotten since then, I hadn't been that confrontational. But now I had I had a chance to visit the White House. Heaven, I will share that with you. Glad nobody else is on here. Yeah, because they won't believe me. They won't believe me. Right. So you see all this stuff behind me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am pointing to, this is my White House proclamation right there.
Mm.
That is it. And it's so teeny, even if you are reading my screen in Zoom and see what grown folks do when I have Zoom meetings with them,
Mm.
is they get all into that wall. Because see, they can read my degree from tech.
Mm.
So that one's mine, but that one in the corner, that's my wife's.
Mm-hmm.
But they can see both of them on camera, so they're counting. They're like, oh, he got 2 degrees from Georgia Tech. I said, yeah, but one of them's mine, one of them's my wife's. Matter of fact, most of the stuff on this wall is my wife's. All my stuff is right behind my head. Everything else, that's my wife's stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
she has art in her office. So I put the degrees on the wall in my office, and she has art in her office, and it works that way. But yeah, grown folks try to get all in your business and look at all that stuff on that wall, man. So they completely missed that I got 15 pounds of magnets over there in that corner. Can you see those behind the globe? They never see that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
They never see it. It's like, why does that man have all those magnets? That's what you should be wondering about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do experiments with them. I do some crazy experiments because they came out of audio speakers,
Mm.
and they are very heavy, which means that they are very magnetic, like they're extremely magnetic. They're,
Mm.
they're so magnetic, as heavy as they are, I can pick one of them up and turn it upside down, which changes the polarity,
Mm-hmm.
and I can hover it over the rest of them. It will sit there and hover,
Oh
and
wow.
it will spook you, especially if you're not up on magnetism. It will absolutely spook you. But it thrills my daughter to no end if I just let one float on top of the other ones. And
Yeah.
she's like, "How are they so strong?" I said, "Well, they manufacture them this way, and all they're doing is they're making the electrons move in the same direction. That's all they're doing, because we have made magnetic screwdriver. You take a regular screwdriver and just stroke it in the same
Mm.
direction several times, and all those electrons get realigned to move in the same direction, and then you got you a magnetic screwdriver, and it's very easy to do, and you can
Mm.
do it with a very weak magnet. But boy, when you got some strong ones, I said, yeah, that's what y'all ought to be paying attention to. Why in the world do I have stuff like that in my office
Mhm.
where you can see it? I said, well, because I'm a man of science. I'm a doctor of humane letters. That's why. That's why.
Mhm.
But I digress. I wasn't supposed to be telling you all of that, but I want to see what comes now of this Lemon Street opportunity, because like anything else, opportunities are always disguised as work. And the work here is, how much truth are these people going to let me tell? How much truth will I try to tell? And then
Yeah.
where do I cut bait with this whole thing and just do what I want to do and do bad by myself? Because that's generally the safest path for me to do things in my own truth, is to just do them on my own. So I want to partner and see what we can get done together. And then whatever we get done together, we do it. And then whatever we
Yeah.
can't, I do it myself, because I want to talk to. They have shared maybe 5 or 6 stories with me of Marietta and Lemon Street High School coverage in the major media.
Mhm.
And it's all very one-sided, kumbaya, look at how wonderful these people are,
Mhm.
and they're smiling. They don't have anything to be mad about, because that's the story and the image that they want to portray. Hey, these people ain't upset. All the things that,
Yeah.
so why the rest of y'all upset? Look at these people. They actually went through something and they're not upset. No, I don't want to participate in that at all. But I do want to talk to these people and ask everybody the same question. What do you want me to tell people about what is important to you? Because that is never the question that reporters ask them. Reporters know what story they want to write, and they don't let you get away from the story they want to write. I will ask them, what story do you want me to tell about your life?
Yeah.
And I will do my best to tell it, either in partnership with this classic or on my own. But we'll get it done. We just may have to choose a different route based on the response.
Mhm.
So with that, I'm going to shut my mouth, because weren't we talking about Ellen Ochoa?
Yeah.
Of course. Well, everything that we talked about subsequent to Ellen Ochoa was inspired by her story. That's the great thing about a story, especially one that you tell just enough story to find some rabbit holes. And the real
Yeah.
stories are in the rabbit holes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And see, now, if someone watched a tape of how I told this story, they might not want me to tell the story. But if they just simply look at that graphic, they're gonna say, "Oh my God, this is so wonderful and appropriate. It is curricular. It is it is rich. Yes, we must have more of this." So I'll give you all of that you want. But well,
Yeah.
the real story though is when I spit the story to the
Mm.
audience that I have chosen. That's when you get the real story. That's when I can go off the page a little bit and talk about it in a real way.
Yeah.
So here's to hoping I get that chance. Now, if I don't get that chance, heaven, I will go and create that chance.
Mhm.
That's the kind of confidence you have when you have solved all those crazy problems in those books, and you've realized that they have prepared you to tackle the craziest problem of all, and that is people who live in America and
Yeah.
usually end up in charge of stuff. That is the toughest problem you'll ever solve.
Mhm.
And you may never solve it now, but you will probably, you'll make some contributions if you even can think about it and come up with something decent that might work somewhere else at some other time. Maybe you don't solve this. I spent a lot of time thinking about that. It's like, what happens if when my daughter grows up, man, all of this is just like it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have the answer there, but that sure makes my stomach hurt, because it might be just like this. It might be worse.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So I don't want to end on that note. I will end on a note of hope. That is the focus of all my work, is generating hope, healing, and change in whatever way you can. And a lot of times, the only thing you change is you change your own perspective, you change your own actions. You can always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have to stay up a little bit longer. You're gonna change somebody else, and that may meet with a lot of frustration. So maybe you don't make that your goal. Maybe you change yourself. You change how you look at things, and who knows? Maybe your willingness to change yourself, you might mess around and figure something out that way.
Yeah.
So with that, young lady, I'm hushing. I'm gonna turn you loose and take this roll before the next crew rolls in here, and I will see you tomorrow.
Okay. Have a great day, Coach Brown.
Okay, you too. Bye bye.